Again, my name is Ann Adams, and today I will talk about or demonstrate geoduck. When I was a young girl, my dad would take us clamming, and he would identify each clam hole by the shape and the size of the hole. And when I was young, I knew all of them. But if you were to ask me today which hole is which, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But he would go out on the beach and he would look for certain holes at certain times of the year, and he was digging for geoduck. And I had never seen anybody dig for geoduck. You know, we always dug clams and whatnot, and so I watched him. And digging for geoduck, you have to be fast. You have to dig fast and furious. Once you find the hole and you start digging, that clam knows that you're after him, and his little left foot just keeps on going faster and faster away from you. And so he would start digging, and then he had a 5-gallon bucket that had the bottom cut out, and he got it far enough down, and then he would shove it into the ground and just keep going like this. And I'm not sure exactly what happens when that does, but eventually he would get it down far enough so that he could dig out the geoduck. So I imagine the suction from the can keeps it from moving, and then he would dig it up, and we'd have geoduck for dinner. So, and I don't remember how big they used to be, but I have seen some that are quite big. And our Natural Resources Department goes out and does sample digging, and this is a tiny one. And what you start with to get to the good part is run this under hot water until all the sand and stuff is off, and then you can start cutting away, and then keep running it under hot water so that the outer skin comes off. And hot enough water it'll just peel right off. And so you get to the point where it looks like this, and then you cut off all the stuff that's you don't want, you know, like the part of the intestines and whatnot. And then so you cut it off, clean it up, rinse out as much sand as you can, and then what I like to do is to find the holes and then just cut so that we can get the sand out of the neck, and then just spread it apart. And then this one is actually pretty clean in rinsing it under the faucet, but you can get all the greedy sand out of the neck, because there's nothing worse than biting into a clam that has sand. Okay, so today we're going to do a geoduck casserole, and this recipe was given to us by a Snohomish elder. She used to be our elders coordinator, and she made this for one of the elders functions, and I thought it was really good, because there was a time when I really wouldn't eat geoduck. You know, I liked clams, but as I'm getting older, I like to try new things at least once, and if I like it, I'll eat it again. So this recipe calls for fresh ground geoduck and some of the juices. I went ahead and added a little bit of clam nectar to it to break it up just a little bit more. But you take a pan, spray it down with some Pam so that it doesn't stick, and the geoducks have been ground. You can use a meat grinder. You know, in the olden days people used a meat grinder, but today we have food processors that are a lot faster. You just chop them up and throw them in there, and then it cuts it down really fine. So you ground up your geoduck. It calls for milk and eggs and salt and pepper to taste. And it also calls for saltine crackers. And this one has sea salt on it, so it will give you a little bit of salt in it. And it also calls for onions and then melted butter. So you add the milk and eggs. And then sprinkle the onion throughout. I like a lot of onion, so even though it called for a tablespoon, I like a little more because I like the flavor that onion gives food. The recipe called for 16 crackers, but the lady who gave me the recipe said that you want to use more. So it's going to be to taste, whatever you think is going to be good, because you don't want it too dry, but you don't want it soggy either. So then we add the butter. The recipe is actually a geoduck or clam casserole, so you could use either or. And then take your cracker crumbs and then just put them over the top. Throw it in the oven at 375 for 45 minutes. And when everything is all done, once you grind up the geoduck and beat the eggs and stuff, it's a relatively quick meal. And I have a copy of the recipe if you want me to make copies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll print off a bunch. Okay?